Joining us now to weigh in, Chris Markowski, host of the Watchdog on Wall Street, and Dan Eberhardt, CEO of Canary. I'll start with you, Chris. What do you think?
I'm with you. I'm still trying to get my arms around a trillion. It's like watching one of those space movies there with Matthew McConaughey, Interstellar, and you're trying to understand the physics behind this. I mean, how many times can the Fed just keep pressing that button, print, till we get ourselves into a dire situation?
Yeah, and I'm sure, Dan, that people do have to be sensitive to folks that are unemployed. The argument being we want to pay them, but we don't want them to stay at home. We'd like them to be out looking for a job, right?
Yeah, well, I think, first of all, a trillion here, a trillion there. I mean, it's definitely a lot of money. I think we've really got to balance what the economy needs and what we need to do to get people back to work with mortgaging our future. This money is not free. This money is going to cost all of us in the form of higher taxes. 10 years, 20 years ahead. This is basically like wartime spending, what we're all going through right now. The problem with this $600, additional stipend, as I see it, is the incentive structure is wrong. We've got folks that don't want to come back to work because they make more money staying at home. We've got to help people that need help right now, for sure, and that's absolutely critical. But we've got to balance that with, we're hurting small businesses because people are saying, hey, look, I don't want to come back for $16 an hour because I'm making $19 an hour in unemployment. So we're helping folks that are out of work with a little boost, but we're also hurting small businesses. Well, in the long term, these small businesses are going to provide the jobs for, a lot of folks. And so I think that there's a tight balancing act we've got to do right now. But we need to be increasingly worried about our government mortgaging our future right now.
So, Dan or Chris, do you do nothing here, or is there some kind of structure that does create an incentive to go back to work?
I mean, I think it's patently absurd that the government can't figure out a way to make sure that unemployment payments going out to people are not more than they were when they were working. For the life of me, I can't figure. You can't outsource that to Google. You give them the contact. I'm sure they'd figure it out in an afternoon.
What about ADP, right? ADP puts out a report. Don't they know by definition?
One would think that would be the case, but the inability to figure that out is nuts. I think another thing that you have to have, it's not even a stimulus. Well, I guess you can call it an indirect stimulus. It protects. Yeah, well, you have to protect small businesses from tort attorneys coming in and saying, someone got COVID in your store and we're going to come after you and sue you. We can't have that. That can't happen either. That has to go into any sort of bill.
So what do we do instead, Dan? I'm not sure that I do feel at one point the government said stay home. And I kind of understood paying people to stay home. But aren't we beyond that now? We've kind of learned how to live with this. Don't get me wrong. Every fatality is somebody who matters.
I think we're absolutely beyond that because I don't think we can afford that. We did the shutdown and the lockdown, and it worked sort of, but not completely. Now we're in a situation where we can't afford to lock everything down again, but we've also got to get back to work. And the government, it's the other gentleman is talking about how, it's nuts that we can't figure out how to pay people less or how to pay people, less than what they were getting working when they're on unemployment as a safety net, but to provide the right incentive structure. And I think that's absolutely positively the case. It's also absurd that Congress hasn't come to a deal yet. We sent the legislators there to legislate and to solve problems. They're bickering about humongous amounts of money, and I support the Republican side here that, $3 trillion, the Nancy Pelosi deal is just too much money and mortgaging our future too much. But these guys need to get their act together, and they need to keep the unemployment benefits rolling, and they need to provide also the liability shield for small businesses so they can afford insurance and be able to operate. Yeah. And right now our government is failing us, I think.
Yeah, I think to a lot of people they are. And I think a lot of them have left town, so we'll have to see how this shakes out. This is a work in progress. Chris and Dan, thank you, gentlemen.